Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 177. Top 5 reasons your team members keep leaving.
If you are a virtual assistant business owner with a team, now they can be client-facing or non-client-facing, they can be employees or subcontractors, it doesn't matter. And if you're experiencing a high turnover of that team, you're bringing them on, they're not sticking around, they're disappearing very, very quickly, and you're tired of it, then you need to keep listening.
Yes. We have some very specific things that you may be doing that you don't even realize are having a major effect on how happy your team member or members are. And if you can rectify these things, it can be a massive turnaround for you.
Yeah, there's no judgment from us if you resonate with any of the topics we talk about in this episode. In fact, it's likely that there's probably 3 reasons why you have found yourself in this position. One could be that you kind of have fallen into this leadership role with team members and you just don't know better. You don't know any better. You weren't aware that in order to become a healthy leader, you need to put some time and effort and energy into it. Now, another reason why you found yourself in this situation might be that you're just so busy. You're being so busy growing your team and so busy trying to keep all your clients happy that you haven't had the time to put into this part of your business.
This was my problem, doing too much client work and not having time to actually make sure I was being a good leader. Yeah.
And then the third one is you've just never had examples in your life of good leadership, like your managers, your bosses. You've been in toxic environments. You haven't actually seen anybody lead well to know that that's an option.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you just think, oh, this is the way that it is. This is how you run a workplace. This is how you run a company with team members. But we're here to tell you that that is not the case. You can absolutely have an amazing culture and have team members who love working with you and stick around.
Yeah. So you can turn this around. If you haven't already kind of got the gist of where we're going with this episode, though. Basically, if you have found yourself in this position, you can't keep your team members happy, they're not sticking around. It's down to you. It's not them. This is a you problem.
Yeah, let's not gloss over this bit. You are the common denominator. You may want to and feel like you need to blame your team members that they're not sticking around because they're crap, they're useless, etc., all those excuses. But actually, you are the problem.
Ouch.
Which can be quite a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. But the only way you are going to turn this around is to acknowledge right here, right now, that it is you.
It's hard. What's happening is that you are absolutely demonstrating really poor leadership, and you have created a toxic culture.
Yeah, there was an example of this which just broke my heart. A virtual assistant in one of our Facebook groups shared a situation that she has found herself in. She is in a subcontracting role to an established VA business owner, and it's not going well, and it feels really unhealthy to her. It feels toxic. These are words that she used. And this was a call for help. She was like, is this normal? Is what I'm experiencing normal? Because if it is, I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with the VA space. I mean, thankfully, so many people jumped on. It was like, no, this is not normal. This is not how I run my business. Or from the other end, no, the VA businesses I work for definitely don't treat me this way. This is not the norm. But that was heartbreaking to read.
And what a shame to think that she actually thought that this could be normal.
Oh, yeah.
That's really sad.
It is really sad. It's really sad. But as we said, there's no judgment because, I mean, Jo, you didn't start your business on day one, grow your team, and you were the perfect leader, were you?
No, I'm so sorry if you were one of my early team members and you are listening to this right now, because I was absolutely a poor leader. I don't want to give too much away about the reasons, but there are two reasons that were my problems that I had and how I was a really poor leader. And like knowing what your personality style is and what the likely issues are that come up with your personality style, because there's pros and cons to all personality styles, right? And one of my issues was that I was so driven and task focused that I am not on the people side of personality styles. And so I would just assume that like everyone's along on this ride, right? And everyone just knows what to do and they do the work and like, what do they need me to like check in on them for? What do they need me to like feel like I really care about them as a person? And so like I was so task focused that I thought everyone else was. So learning about personality styles, getting some training, reading, absorbing some information and some resources about leadership, and then having my business coach help me understand, why are these team members not happy? Why are they not just happy doing the work? It's like I couldn't comprehend it. Like it seems crazy now, even just saying that and thinking that.
Well, because you've done the work. You've done so much work that would feel like a different version of you 10 years ago.
It absolutely was a different version. So yeah, that really helped me. So if you're a leader, like listen to what our 5 top reasons are and see if you can rectify these. Like you've got to do some training, some learning, get some support with this, because this is a really big deal. It costs a lot of money to have a high turnover of team members and so much heartbreak and energy and lost time. And it's all avoidable.
Totally. Well, you could be like me, you could avoid it by just not.
Are we going to go down the I don't have team members route again?
Well, it's really interesting, like going through, like looking at our list that we're going to go through very, very shortly. It's like maybe not the toxic culture that we're going to be talking about, but there's some things on there. It's like, oh, that would be me 100%. And I know that, which is why I've never grown my team like you have, because I just don't have the time. It's not that I don't care, but I just don't have the time or the willingness to put in to making a lot of people happy.
Yeah. It's not that you don't have the time either. It's that you don't want to put the energy in and use that time, the precious time that you have, to manage those team members and deal with everything that comes with it.
That's why I said the willingness. I don't have the willingness.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I know that. That, right? I would rather put that time and energy into making the people around me already happy. Yes. So, yeah. Okay, let's get into the top 5 reasons why your team members keep leaving. And paper ready, folks. Number 1, disorganization. You don't have any systems. You don't have any processes. You're not training or inducting your team members. You're just leaving them to it. You're leaving everyone to it. There's no expectations. You're bringing them on, you're throwing them in and just hoping that it's going to work out.
Yeah, your motto is likely to be, just let them sink or swim. They'll figure it out, won't they? Surely they know how to look after clients. Oh, that is very unsettling for a team member to come into an organization that has chaos. They don't feel like they're doing a good job, and they want to do a good job because they don't know what a good job even looks like or how to do a good job.
Yeah.
They've got the skills and experience to deliver the service, but they don't know how to deliver it for you. How do you do it in your organization? Like you can't You can't have no systems, processes, and training or induction. You can't. It's not going to work. Those team members are not going to stick around. That is going to be so stressful for them to be in an organization that's chaos.
You are going to very quickly lose your best team members, the most skilled, the most experienced, because they know better. They're like, this is not right. This is not good from our point of view as a team member, but it's also going to be affecting the clients that we're supposed to be supporting.
Yeah.
Like the knock-on effect for being that disorganized. It's not just the team members. It's greater than that.
Yeah. And the systems, processes, induction, expectations, like that's not up to them. That's not their responsibility. That is absolutely your responsibility. So don't go expecting them to implement processes and systems inside your business. That needs to come from you.
Totally. And this is why the systems and processes are so important to get in place before you start scaling, which is what we talked about in last week's episode.
Yep.
Okay, number 2 on our list is there's a lack of trust. You don't fully trust your team members.
This like control that you feel like you have to have. And this can show up in things like micromanaging. Oh, nobody liked that micromanaging boss that they used to have.
Oh, they're awful. They're the worst managers to work for. They really are. Like, you just want to scream at them. Just let me get on with it.
Just trust that I know what I'm doing. Trust me. People want to feel trusted. And they want to feel trusted really early on too.
Well, this is empowering. You empower your team members by showing that you trust them.
Yeah. And this is not about like just the sink or swim, throwing them in the deep end and then just leaving them to it. Absolutely be checking in with them, but constantly checking in is not appropriate. That's not a nice feeling to be constantly asking for updates and seeing what they're doing and why are you doing this and when are you doing this. Like, set the expectations really clearly up front, check in with them, see how they're going, but let them do their job.
And unless you've got a genuine concern about putting them in front of clients, like, why aren't you? Why don't you trust them to deal with the clients directly?
Yeah, this could be out of your own fears sometimes of like, oh, they might steal the client, so I don't want them to connect or have a relationship. Oh, that's going to hold you back from scaling, absolutely, which we talked about last week in the last episode. Don't be the bottleneck. Don't be the middleman. Let that team member deal directly with the client. Ask the things that they need to ask. Provide the things that they need to provide. Like, don't go checking all their emails to the client. Like, set the expectations. This is what the induction's for, setting the expectations and being there available to answer questions, but not checking every single thing that they do. Like, that's not going to
Not once you get past that initial kind of, few weeks after the onboard. Like, that should give you an idea of whether or not you have made the right hire and you can trust them. Yeah. Okay, number 3 on our list is you're not supporting your team members. They don't feel supported. They don't feel cared about. They don't feel like they can come to you and be really honest about how they're feeling and what's going on.
And you want them to feel like they can come to you with problems about clients, mistakes, issues that have come up, because they know that you've got their back and you will support them through whatever it needs to happen. If they don't feel supported or trusted, they are not going to bring mistakes and issues to you. They are going to hide those because you're so unpredictable about how you're going to react that they don't feel safe to actually bring those problems to you. And that is not a culture that you want to create. You want to know about all the issues. You want to have it as a supportive, caring, Like, let's be in this together as a team rather than everyone just working in their own silos and dealing with their own problems. You don't want that in your business.
It's up to you to create that safe space for every single member of your team. They need to feel like they're seen and that they're heard and that their satisfaction in their work is important to you. Okay. Number 4 on our list is your team members don't feel valued.
This is a big one. This feeling of not being valued comes from paying them too low. If you have to pay them low to make any money, like your business model is broken. You need to have some higher rates and premium rates because it isn't going to work. That team member is not going to stick around working for low pay.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about this in previous episodes, I'm certain, about VA business owners who are growing their team, and they go straight to the cheapest. It's not all it's going to work out for you, right?
No, definitely not.
What other ways would a team member feel undervalued or not valued at all?
Yeah, if you are constantly like, oh, you can't charge for that, and what's this thing on your invoice here, or you need to come to this meeting, but it's not going to be a paid meeting, or like letting them come to the meeting and then afterwards saying, oh, you can't put that on your invoice, questioning their invoices, like, that's icky. That's icky. Yes, absolutely. Have conversations with them about like, this is what you charge for, this is what non-billable stuff is. But if you're asking them to do something, to be somewhere, to come to a meeting, whether it's a client meeting or not, whether it's billable or not, if you're asking them and requiring them to come to things, you absolutely need to pay for them. If you're asking them to do training, actually paying them to do the induction and the training with you.
Or maybe you're avoiding all of that. There's no training because you don't value them. There is no team meetings because you don't want to pay them for it.
Yep.
They're not going to feel valued. And it all leads into number 5. All of what we've talked about up until this point, number 5 is the culture is just toxic. This is not good. This is not good if you get to this point. You can still turn it around though, don't get us wrong. But a toxic culture is not a good one.
Yeah. Things like speaking down to your team members. Oh, this is something that I just can't stand. It's like something switches with someone when they go into a agency role and they then suddenly feel like they need to be higher up than the other team members that they have and be dominant and be like a dictator and have this wall there where they are speaking down like you are my workers, and I can't stand when people say staff.
I was going to say that, Jo. It's like, yeah, you don't even like the term staff because of how that makes them feel. You are there to serve. You are not there to have an opinion. You are not there to share your feelings with me. Once again, I don't care about your happiness. You are here to serve me, and you are here to make me more money.
Yeah. Yep. That is not going to go well for you, and your team members are not going to stick around in that kind of situation if that's how you're treating them. Like, if you think that you're doing a favor to your team members and they kind of owe you, you have got it around the exact wrong way. It is the opposite to that. They are doing you a favor. They are doing something that benefits you, and you should appreciate them for that because they have options.
Why are you like, it is important that you don't do any of this with your team members. Like, I 100% agree. But why are you so passionate about this particular thing? Is it because you experienced the opposite at some point? Like,
I think because I haven't experienced the opposite.
okay.
I have always been in workplaces where I have felt part of a team,
Yeah.
and the leaders have talked about team, and they have never used the word staff. I've never worked anywhere where
No.
they said the term staff. And so, like, I'm allergic to it. I have some really great role models of leadership.
Yeah.
And so I can't stand it. And I know that I put in a lot of work and commitment in my workplaces, and I felt valued for that, and I loved that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to feel like a real subordinate and someone that's not valued, and I never want my team members to feel like that. But this bit was not part of the problem that I had.
No.
Mine was the not having them feel valued and not supported,
Yeah.
because I was so focused on, like, let's do the work.
Yeah.
And feelings and, like, the caring part was not my strong point. My team members probably felt unsupported sometimes, and just not having time, because I focus so much on the client work, doing billable work, bringing in more money for the business. Then I didn't have time for the team members, which
Yeah.
must have been frustrating for them.
So what's your language? Even like if you are using that term staff, just every time you say it, just have a think about it. See if you can switch it around. Just replace it with team. Just one little change. One little change. Another sign of a toxic culture that you've created, down to you, sorry,
Yep.
is you're not respecting your team members' boundaries.
Yeah, like, are you calling them outside of work hours? Are you calling them outside of whatever their work hours are as a subcontractor or an employee? Are you expecting them to do things that, is on the weekend and they don't really want to, but they've said yes reluctantly? Like, are you respecting their boundaries at all? Are you allowing them to take leave? And when they're sick, are you allowing them to be sick and not have to be working and checking inboxes and stuff? Because you've got a plan for what needs to happen when someone's sick. If you don't, you're not going to be respecting those boundaries. That's very toxic.
Are you encouraging them to take leave? Are you going, hey, when are you taking leave this year so I can plan for that? Or are you just kind of just letting them get on with it because you actually don't care? You don't care about their leave. Are you making them feel guilty for taking leave or for being sick and needing time off?
Yeah, that can be really subtle. It's the language that you use and the reactions that you have to your team members bringing something to you is so important. And it can be really subtle. So watch the language that you use and those responses that you have to them.
Another sign of a toxic environment is conflict is not handled in a healthy way.
There's a way to handle conflict, and it is definitely not inside a team meeting. Like, you've got to know when it's appropriate to speak about things openly with other people listening, and when it's like, actually, we need to take this offline. Let's discuss this privately.
Or avoiding it, like just in the hope that it's going to go away. You know when there's stuff going on, but you're just like, you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm just going to let them get on with it.
Burying your head in the sand, not good when it comes to conflict or any issues in your business, really.
Or getting defensive, like when there is a conflict and you might be part of that conflict. Like I liken it to a parent-child relationship. And I have to remind myself of this a lot when I am in a conflict situation, especially with my 11-year-old right now. I have to remind myself, I am the adult. I am the grown-up. I have to lead by example in this conversation. Now, easier said than done, but it's the same with a manager and a team member. You have to lead by example.
Taking ownership, accountability, and responsibility, and staying away from blame, excuses, denial, our beautiful or bed model.
If you haven't
That is
heard of
one
it,
that
look it
every
up.
leader must
Yes.
know and have written on a poster somewhere to remind yourself, because it's very easy to slip into blame, excuses, and denial if you're not conscious and thinking about it.
If you haven't heard of that, if you haven't heard us talk about it before, please Google it, the Orbed model. Let's talk about communication. As a leader of a team, no matter what the size, we'd hate for you to be using passive-aggressive language in your comms, passive language or aggressive language. Any of those, any combination of those need to be avoided.
Yeah, and like the passive one is interesting. We've heard the passive aggressive, but like passive communication, like not communicating with them at all or letting them know about things or avoiding communication because you're not sure how it's going to go, like that's equally not good in creating that amazing culture that you want. It's absolutely creating this toxic undertone in your organization. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'd hate to think that anyone is using aggressive language, but, I guess if they catch you on the wrong day, you're really stressed and overwhelmed yourself, and it's easy for people to read into emails, which is why if you were in a situation where you feel as though you could be getting into these types of forms of communication, like get off email, hop on the phone.
There we have it. Our 5 reasons that your team members keep leaving you. If they keep leaving you, it's your problem, and it's going to be any number of these 5. So really dig deep and take a cold, hard look at yourself and what you need to change in terms of your behavior, comms, and how you deal with your team members, because this stuff is so important. Like I said earlier in the episode, this is going to cost you so much energy, time, frustration, issues. Like it's going to make business really, really hard if you don't sort this out.
And remember, we're not born good leaders either. These are not skills that everybody naturally have. It's okay to go, you know what? Right now, I'm not the leader that I want to be, and I'm not the leader that my team members need me to be. But I want to make a promise right here, right now, to work on that and do what I need to do to become that leader.
And if this has really resonated with you and you want to get some help and figure out where you are going wrong, what needs to change, how you can turn things around, then we have private coaching sessions available where we can have a 1-hour Zoom, hash out what the issues are and make a plan for you so that you can have the business that you actually love and not one that just feels hard and icky and frustrating. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the mastermind and the amazing resources, courses, and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.